People say smoking causes cancer. Dude, everything causes cancer nowadays. I got a rule if you want to hang around me or be around me or even get me to acknowledge you in any way. You be you and I'll be me. How about you be you and I'll be me? So when you start to figure out what I need to do, that must mean that you've got you all figured out already. Because why do you have time to worry about my well-being when you still need to focus on yours? Like Edward, see what I'm saying? Like, why are you trying to tell me what to do when you haven't even mastered what to do? And when someone says, well, how do you know I haven't mastered it? Look at you. You're leaving stupid comments that I should stop smoking cigars. All I do is look at someone's results. Like, if the person leaving the comment is exceeding in all the areas in life, then I may listen to that input. But if you're struggling telling me to not smoke cigars, maybe you should start smoking cigars.
Alright guys, in today's brief video, I'm going to be reacting to that TikTok of Brad Lee, who is justifying the use of nicotine through consuming cigars. And I want to talk about this because, yes, there's growing popularity in cigars on social media platforms, especially where you have a lot of younger people watching. But this way of thinking that he's going through in this minute TikTok is something that I too have fallen victim of when I was struggling with nicotine addiction. And I think it's a very, very dangerous mentality to have, and not the good type of dangerous, like be dangerous, be strong. I mean in a really, really bad way. And I'm going to prove that to you guys not only by breaking down the video and what's going on, what I think psychologically, but I'm also going to show you a very similar conversation that was had between Lil Wayne and a very popular interviewer on YouTube when Lil Wayne was justifying his sipping syrup or his codeine addiction to someone that was interviewing him, which did turn out to be very dangerous for Lil Wayne. The thought processes are exactly the same. And I think a lot of people who struggle with addiction, especially if they are doing well financially, if they are doing well in business, fall subject to this. And it's a very, very scary place to be in. So without further ado, let's start to break down this video of Brad first.
People say smoking causes cancer. Dude, everything causes cancer nowadays.
So right there, right off of the bat, the first thing that you're seeing is the rationalization of this addiction. Well, it's okay if I smoke because everything causes cancer. Well, that's not exactly true. And smoking happens to really, really accelerate the risk of cancer much more than a lot of other things in life, right? So I don't think that that's exactly true, but this is a really easy way for that addictive voice in the brain to try and rationalize the actions that you're partaking in. And people may say, well, Dr. Frank, you don't inhale cigars. I understand that, but that smoke still permeates the membranes in your mouth, and that can absolutely increase the risk of oral cancers, esophageal cancer, mouth cancer. Just because you're not inhaling it doesn't mean that that smoke isn't getting into the membranes. So although I agree there's a lot of things that cause cancer, you're really accelerating your risk for it. So this is addiction's way of rationalizing using a drug or using a substance, okay? It's not that bad. At least I'm not doing heroin. That's what this is.
I got a rule if you want to hang around me or be around me or even get me to acknowledge you in any way. You be you and I'll be me. How about you be you and I'll be me?
Okay, so here's the thing. That would be great, but Brad Lee is a public figure. This guy is constantly putting out videos, and anytime you put out videos as a public speaker, as a motivational speaker, you're opening up to input from other people. That's the point in the comments. That's the point in the DMs. It's for people to comment and either agree or disagree with you, critique you, or praise you. That is quite literally what you are opening yourself up to as a public figure. So I would agree on a day-to-day basis, you be you and I'll be me and leave me alone. I completely agree with that, unless you're purposely putting out videos on TikTok and YouTube, at which point you're opening yourself up to the criticism from anyone watching.
So when you start to figure out what I need to do, that must mean that you've got you all figured out already. Because why do you have time to worry about my well-being when you still need to focus on yours? Like Edward, see what I'm saying? Like, why are you trying to tell me what to do when you haven't even mastered what to do?
Brad is saying, listen, you're not as successful as I am at this point, so why are you commenting on me? You haven't figured life out yet. And I used to think the same way when I was addicted to weed and nicotine. I'd say, here I am. I got a business for myself. A lot of my friends who don't smoke weed, who don't use nicotine, they're employed by other people. They haven't accomplished what I've accomplished so far. And essentially what you're doing is comparing yourself to others, but you're comparing yourself to selective parts of other people's lives. You can have someone who's maybe not as financially successful as Brad is, but perhaps from a relationship standpoint, they're far more successful. Perhaps they're not as successful as Brad in his relationships or his finances, but maybe they're a lot more successful than him in the act of quitting smoking cigars. Someone who's had an experience, gone through it, learned from it, and is now more successful than Brad is in that experience. Now, I'm not saying he wants to quit or has any interest in quitting. I'm just talking about from a standpoint of addiction, so I hope this is making sense. But what he's doing is he's comparing, and he's selectively comparing certain aspects of people's lives and saying, well, you're not as successful as me. Well, people are successful in different aspects of life, right? You could have someone who was a raging alcoholic, and this is a real story, someone that we once worked with, who has a net income of over $30 million a year. $30 million a year, okay? And this person's very successful financially, but they're getting advice from their sponsor, someone who's maybe making just slightly above minimum wage about how to get sober. They're getting advice from people in Alcoholics Anonymous groups where, yeah, you might have medical doctors, other professional licensees, entrepreneurs for sure, but you also have a lot of people coaching or guiding this person who's making way more money than everyone in the room combined because they've been more successful in the action of addiction recovery. That's become their area of expertise. So by comparing people, here he is further protecting his addiction. I also want to say this. The other thing that he's doing too, which I don't blame him, he's saying, don't comment on my page and don't say that stuff. Anytime someone comments, don't you know smoking's bad for you? Don't you know drinking's bad for you? If someone's truly addicted, they're going to become defensive. And this is the last thing that we want to do when we're trying to help someone quit. But this is inevitably what happens by just saying, hey, that's bad for you. You shouldn't do that. That's why that's such a terrible approach, because as we're seeing with Brad, that turns on that addiction's defensive mechanisms, which in this case, we're seeing his defensive mechanisms being rationalization. We're seeing him justifying his actions, and now we're seeing him comparing himself to selected aspects of other people's lives. Let's wrap up this video reaction.
And when someone says, well, how do you know I haven't mastered it? Look at you. You're leaving stupid comments that I should stop smoking cigars. All I do is look at someone's results. Like if the person leaving the comment is exceeding in all the areas in life, then I may listen to that input. But if you're struggling telling me to not smoke cigars, maybe you should start smoking cigars.
So what he's saying here is, listen, I'm successful because I smoke cigars, and if you're less successful than me, presumably he's talking about financially, then maybe you should start, because look at what cigars have done for me. Look at the life that I have built because I've been smoking cigars. And this is where we start to see, and this is so dangerous, the justification of an addiction, saying, I wouldn't be where I am today without nicotine, without smoking. In the case of Lil Wayne, as we're going to see, I wouldn't be where I am today without promethazine and codeine and alcohol and other substances. It's a very, very, very scary mindset to fall victim to. When addiction creeps that deep into our lives, whether it's nicotine or heroin or alcohol or weed, it doesn't matter. But when we start to justify where we're at in life and start to see that addiction in such a positive light, it becomes very, very hard to quit, let alone to even consider quitting, because now you've amassed a great amount of benefit from being addicted to a substance. And what someone once told me when I was struggling was, you've gotten this far in life in spite of having an addiction. So imagine how far you would be without it. You didn't get here because of nicotine and weed and adult media and energy drinks. You got here in spite of all those things. So I can't wait to see, Frank, someone talking to me, what you're going to be capable of when you quit these things. And, here we are now. We've accomplished a lot more since then. All right. I want to prove to you guys how dangerous this is, because it wasn't that long ago I remember listening to a Lil Wayne interview, which we're going to watch now, where he's saying essentially the exact same thing that Brad is saying to justify continuing sipping syrup or drinking a concoction of promethazine, codeine, alcohol, caffeine, whatever it was he was mixing in his cup. And obviously, eventually he started to suffer seizures, and it's believed that those seizures were the result of sipping syrup. We can't say for sure, but it's a safe bet. It's a fairly common and tragic thing in the rap culture. So let's watch Lil Wayne, and I hope you guys can see the comparisons between the justification, the defense of the addiction, the comparing yourself to others, and then the rationalizing behind it. This goes to show just how cunning that addictive voice is, especially in someone's mind when they've achieved a certain amount of success. Let's check it out.
But honestly, it ain't nobody's business what's in my cup, what's in your cup, what's in their cup. It's your cup. Drink it. Die. Kill yourself if that's what you want to do. You could be drinking prune juice. Who knows?
So there he is saying it's no one's business, just like Brad. Basically, the problem with that, though, is, yes, it is no one's business, but Lil Wayne, at the time, you are a public figure. So there's going to be people, it becomes everyone's business when you're a public figure.
Who knows? As long as if I say this is death on ice in my cup, okay, I could be drinking iced tea. You just got fooled. Who's going to live longer? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you the truth, my brother. I'm going to tell you the truth, man. It's a beautiful thing that you've put the cup down, irrespective that it's none of my goddamn business what's in the cup, but it's a beautiful thing, man.
But it's not a beautiful thing because nobody knows what's in the cup.
Right here, what you're going to see, him saying that was the same thing as someone commenting on Brad's page, you should quit smoking. Now what you're going to see is that addicted voice go into a mechanism of defense and self-preservation because it just got threatened by that comment. The same way someone told Brad, hey, you should stop smoking, or just watch.
That's the whole thing. Unless you come up and drink what's in my cup, then how can you say it's a beautiful thing? Also, when people drink alcohol, they react like they've been drinking alcohol. So whatever the hell was in my cup, the only reaction I did was got more popular, more successful, did a lot more things that I've ever done, picked up a guitar, learned how to play it, learned how to put on the auto-tunes and stretch my voice, and became #1 in the country with everything I've ever dropped. I probably should pick that cup back up.
So what Lil Wayne is saying there is the same thing that Brad is saying. Listen, I'm far more successful than a lot of people, and it's because I was drinking whatever was in that cup, right? Presumably some concoction of promethazine, codeine, whatever. But he's saying, no, I am a success because of that drug. Not in spite of that drug, because of that drug. And it's this type of mentality that has taken so many lives of individuals who are celebrities and musicians and younger people that idolize to be like them. It's really, really a sad way of thinking. Now, I will say, listen, sure, maybe there are some breakthrough moments when you're smoking weed, when you're doing drugs. Maybe there are some breakthrough moments. And maybe there are a little bit of, it did give you a benefit, a brief benefit, a brief breakthrough. But if you keep pushing it and you keep pushing it, it's going to start to take from you. Those benefits become few and far between, as we saw in Lil Wayne's case, as, his addiction played out.
I'm just trying to make people understand.
Understand.
I'm just trying to make people understand that. Don't judge me.
Yes.
Be trying to say, he should have put the cup down. Why? What did he do wrong? Name it. He was on 60 Minutes with K to Cover. Was you? No. He won 4 Grammys. The year of the cup. Did you? No. What the hell was in his cup? Whatever he was drinking must be a motherfucking success potion. That's why I tell people, fuck you, and whatever was in my cup, suck my dick. I'm gonna keep drinking it, bitch. That's why I feel that way.
So that's the exact same mentality that Brad had defending smoking cigars, right? You're not as successful as me, so I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. What Lil Wayne is doing is the same thing Brad did. He's choosing specific aspects, predominantly financial aspects or popularity aspects of a person's life, and he's saying, you have not achieved what I've achieved, and I'm not going to listen to you. I must be doing it right. You must be doing it wrong. And again, what they're failing to acknowledge is some people have achieved a lot in addiction recovery. And in order to achieve a lot in addiction recovery and be great at it, does not mean that you have to have lots of money. You can be successful in quitting an addiction and helping other people without being a 4-time Grammy Platinum winner, without being worth $8 to $30 million like Bradley is, right? People have different talents. People have different traits. People have different qualities. And blocking out the people who are trying to help, and in my opinion, they are going about it wrong. I understand why he's having that reaction because they're pointing the finger. You should stop this. You shouldn't do that, right? What he's saying makes sense when he's being attacked like that. But when you're talking to someone and hearing from someone who's qualified to talk about that stuff, it's like, oh, yeah, I might be worth $100 million plus. God knows what Lil Wayne's net worth is. But it's like, yeah, this guy or this girl that's helping me quit has a lot more experience in quitting than I do. And I am going to listen to them because this is their field. Now, if they ever decide they want to write a rap song one day, well, then I'm the expert. Then I'm the pro. See, we're all experts in different categories and different fields in our lives. And when we draw these selective comparisons, and we do this all the time when we're addicted to a drug, it becomes very, very dangerous. I hope you guys saw the stark similarities between Brad and his nicotine addiction and Lil Wayne and his presumed codeine and promethazine addiction or whatever was in his cup. Doesn't matter what was in his cup. What matters is his addiction looks no different than Brad's, and it's very easy to identify how that addictive voice was reacting and speaking throughout this whole interview. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it wakes you up to some of your own addictive voices that's going on in your head. If you want help with this stuff, check out the pinned comment. We got one-on-one coaching. We have group coaching. I have a free 90-page course. I have a 7-page course on quitting weed. Check out the pinned comment. Check out the video description for all types of other information. I'll see you guys later.